Hi, good afternoon. It's a few minutes after 12, so it's legally allowed to say good afternoon. Super happy to be here. Thank you guys for staying here to spend few important minutes, I will say, together with Yinon and me. So let's start. Yinon, will you please present yourself?
Of course, thank you. So I'm Yinon Costica, the VP of Products and one of the co-founders for Wiz, the cloud security company. We help organizations to build faster and secure anything they build to their cloud environments.
Cool. So far, I agree. My name is Harel. Ifhar. I'm the general manager of Amazon Web Services in Israel. I've been doing it for 8.5 years. We've been helping organizations from all sizes, from startups all the way to enterprises, to public sector organizations, innovate faster and transform themselves to the digital era. So here we are, and I have some questions for you, Yinon. I hope that you will find them interesting and relevant so we can exchange information here and share some knowledge, experience with the audience. So let's kick it off. So Wiz exists less than 2 years, I believe. You guys so far have 20% of Fortune 500 companies. I wanted to ask you, Yinon, whether you guys are seeing tectonic shifts in the move of security, cybersecurity, to the top agenda of the boardroom.
So, absolutely yes. I think boardroom is definitely much more interested in security, but first we need to understand that the source of it is actually the digital transformation any organization is going through today. So any organization today can leverage cloud technologies to build faster, develop the business. It became like a necessity to stay in the business, and I think that cloud is the best tool to move fast. And with that, of course, there is a lot more focus on cybersecurity, on how to secure this operation, and of course the boardroom sees it and basically allocates more and more focus and budgets to security. I think budgets are, we've seen budgets as the only budget area that grew throughout the COVID period was cybersecurity across any vertical. So alongside the digital transformation and the additional budgets and focus, I think we are seeing the CISOs becoming business enablers. Right. So going to the C-level, now they are part of the business. It's not about blocking, it's about enabling the business to move faster. So we see them partnering and opening the floodgates, enabling them to use technologies. And I think that even if we take Wiz, so Wiz is obviously born to cloud, we use only cloud technologies. This is one of the only things, major things that allowed us to scale the way we did. So you mentioned 20% of the Fortune 500. So exactly that, and I think this is in terms of the agility and cloud. And with that, I would love to pass to you. Maybe you can share how you help organizations to enable organizations to do this securely. We are seeing, like with multiple companies across all sizes, especially moving from startup nation to scale-up nation. We have multiple organizations now that are going through this. So how are you helping them being more secure?
Sure, of course. Look, security and cybersecurity is top for any customer. Therefore, for us, for Amazon Web Services, we put priority number one for cybersecurity in everything that we do. We are keeping our customers' data secured and top priority for everything that we do, regardless of the size of our organization, regardless of the location. We give customers control over the data, making sure that they control all the data that they use and that they run security and that they secure the business and making sure that their data is always protected. We also give our customers, and this is demand actually from our customers, to have the most flexible and secured cloud computing environment available today. So I'll say cybersecurity is basic and top priority. It has always been and it will always be. Our core infrastructure that runs AWS and that is used by all of our customers are satisfying security requirements of enterprises, of banks, of global organizations, for those that want to make sure that their data is kept at highest level of security, and we make sure that our data centers and our network is highly secured. In addition, Amazon Web Services supports security standards and compliance certificates to help organizations protect everything that they do and to make sure that we meet regulatory requirements. I think it's a good opportunity to share with you, Yinon, I'm sure that you heard about it before, but Amazon Web Services, we announced that we will be launching an AWS infrastructure region in Israel in H1 2023. It's not so far away, it's pretty close, by the way.
Excites me every time I hear it.
I know, it excites me as well. And the AWS region in Israel will allow developers, startups, enterprises, government organizations, education organizations, non-profit organizations, to run their applications, to develop and to scale from data centers that are located here in Israel. This is super important for us and super exciting that it's happening, and we are very close to that. It will definitely help improve the security. Good. I have a question for you, Yinon. Let's see how you take this one. You know, not many people know that the initial idea that we started with was a bit different than where you guys went eventually. And that only after talking to 100 CIOs, you guys changed a bit, changed the direction. Only after listening to customers, and by the way, it's very similar to one of Amazon's leadership principle, which is called customer obsession, you guys decided to change the course of things. So can you share a bit about the experience? How did it started? Why did you guys change? And what's the direction eventually?
Yeah, of course. So actually, Wiz celebrates 2 years this week. It's just the beginning of COVID. Everybody went to Zoom quarantine. And basically, we leveraged, as you mentioned, we started with the ideation process where we worked with hundreds of CISOs, some of them are here, globally, through our CISO network of the VCs, like Sequoia, Index, CyberStarts. And basically, we've realized that the major problem for the security teams is that they used on-prem and on-prem paradigms and tools in order to secure their cloud environment, and I think that made their life very arduous, complex, and they weren't successful in doing that effectively. Right. And I think that what we've realized is, one, cloud security has to be agentless. Agentless in the sense that you cannot rely on agents deployed because the cloud is ephemeral, it's elastic, it contains multiple architectures. You can think about serverless, containers, VMs, PaaS. You cannot rely on an agent to secure it. So that's the first thing that we realize has to be to happen, and it's frictionless without the agents. Now, the second thing is the context. Think about the level of understanding that you need to understand like a security issue. It's not about a vulnerability on a resource. It's actually understanding that you have a vulnerable Jenkins machine that is internet facing, has access to admin permissions, and this is what you need to actually fix. That's the context that is missing so much. So only by working with customers, understanding this from their perspective, we were able to come up with a solution that, as you mentioned, picked up, I think, the fastest growing security company ever, is what allowed us. And with that, I also want to thank you because the same way that we are working with customers, you are working with us as a customer. And I think that the ability to work with your teams on building the solution and getting like the cloud technologies that we use to extreme, this is what made us also successful, and you were there to listen to us and like go with us through the scale. So I think that, again, we do share this customer focus, and thank you for that partnership.
Yeah, listening to customers, to what they tell you is always a good practice. So we are doing that always, and you guys are doing that, and it's proving itself. Thank you for that, Yinon. You know, based on a conversation with customers, are there any emerging trends that you've identified and you would like to share with us today?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think that the first thing we are seeing is actually you called it tectonic shift. It's a tectonic shift from waiting for the bad guys to come and detecting them, so from detection to secure by design. I think there is a lot more focus on secure by design, a lot more like a maturity in the space to do things right at the get-go rather than fixing after the fact. So I think this is a tectonic shift. We saw a lot of efforts on shift left. We realized that shift left by itself is very hard to do. We need to be able to look all of the time at the result on the right and then implement the same the capabilities in the left, but knowing what is the end result. So I think this secure by design concept is critical as an emerging trend, and you can see the shift in how organizations think about it. The second thing is also around the, what I call from centralized security organization to a self-service security that allows not only the security is responsible for the things, but also every single team has a way to self-serve and understand how to build things right. So I think these two trends are what really defines security today. And I think that with that, I also maybe getting your guidance, and that's a question back to you. What would you recommend as a leading cloud services provider globally? What would you recommend from AWS as the top tips to help customers remain secure in the cloud?
Right. It's a great question that I get asked pretty often from customers, from partners. What are the tips that we at Amazon Web Services have to share? And I'll share a few. First, you need to build a culture of security in the organization. Cybersecurity is not somebody else's responsibility or not a responsibility of one guy in the organization or in a group. It's the entire organization's responsibility. Make sure that it's one of the foundations of the culture of the organization. It's everybody's responsible. It's on top of the agenda. So I'll say putting security as part of the culture of the organization, I think it's super important. In addition, I'll advise any organization, regardless of the size, whether it's a startup or an enterprise, to implement a backup strategy. Be ready for the day that you need to have a backup. Make sure that everything is prepared and plan ahead of time. You never know what will happen, and it's always good to be prepared and to have all your processes, all your tools ready. In the event that something unexpected happens, you have a plan, you have a program to move forward. Last and not least, automate security tasks. Try to automate as many as possible, as much as possible as your security processes. Try to leave as less as you can to manual process to avoid the risk of a human doing an error. So, I have more tips, but our time is over. I would like to thank you so much, Yinon, for your time, to thank everybody for listening to us, and I wish you all a very successful event and conference. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you very much.